morning, ladies and gentlemen. On this National Technology Day, I would like to take the opportunity to wish all the engineers, scientists, technocrats, innovators, R&D professionals, and the policymakers a very happy National Technology Day. The day is not just another celebration, but serves as a reminder to India's growing prowess in engineering, innovation, and technology in all sections of the society. Looking at the automotive industry, it becomes all the more significant as technology has remained at the core of this industry. Now, with India's unique strength of frugal engineering and skilled talent, the Indian automotive sector is touching the pinnacle of advancements in core areas of technology, even on a global stage. To begin the day with further discussions, we have a keynote address by someone who has spent over 3 decades in the automotive industry. He has seen the sector evolve over the years and build itself a name in different areas, including material technology, safety, emission, connectivity, softwarisation, electrification, and a lot more. To share his insights and set the tone for the day, I would like to request Mr. Rajendra Petkar, President and Chief Technology Officer at Tata Motors, to please take the stage.
Hello everybody, I am Rajendra Petkar, President and CTO at Tata Motors. On this momentous occasion of National Technology Day 2024, I extend my heartiest congratulations to all the scientists, engineers and innovators who are dedicatedly engaged with the automotive and other sectors for making the lives of humankind better. I would like to also congratulate ET Auto for organizing a webinar on software-defined vehicles on this occasion. I must say that all of us have been lucky to witness the age of technology transition and breakthroughs wherein innovations across sectors have been at their peak. You name any industry and there have been rapid and positive disruptions all around. A decade of innovation has got packed in last 2 to 3 years, and developments like COVID vaccine, penetration of internet and digital devices that knows no borders, maturing technologies such as generative AI, augmented reality, Internet of Things, along with the explosion of data and analytics, are just a few of them. The automotive sector, one of the world's largest and fastest changing sector, also has been riding the wave of technology disruptions with continuous evolution. The Indian automotive sector, too, has been steadily converging to the point of offering sustainable, desirable, capable, and smart solutions that are vital to the regulatory, social, and economic needs of our country and its people. Technology has remained at the core of automotive sector. Design and development efforts, manufacturing setup, supply chain processes, along with downstream activities like marketing and sales, have been dependent on new generation technologies and digitalization. With its relentless efforts, the Indian automotive sector is touching the pinnacle of advancement in core areas of technology like materials, clean energy, efficient powertrain, emissions, safety, refinement, and quality for fostering sustainable mobility solutions and sustainable development goals of 2030. The progress made so far is attributed to the technological intelligence and commitment of all those who are involved. It is given that technology solutions need to be delivered at competitive prices while maintaining delightful quality experience for the end customers. Quality is critical aspect of technology and product development and cannot be compromised in any form. Today, India has attained the status of possessing technological prowess and being among the top automotive manufacturing country. It caters to not only domestic consumers but also global demand. Friends, the technology solutions for mobility are multi-entrant, multi-engineered, and hence the solution will not be in isolation. Therefore, collaborations across various stakeholders like government, industry, academia, and research institutes shall capitalize the collective potential and synergize the cross-domain strengths at different scales. Today, the traditional automotive players are increasingly turning to technology giants for competencies related to IoT, AI models, mapping and cloud services, connected solutions, assisted driving, gaming solutions, software development, and analytics. The theme of today's webinar by ET Auto, that is software defined vehicles or SDVs, as we know them, is very appropriate with the current times wherein the way at which we perceive and utilize automobiles is likely to be reset in a big way. It is one of the new frontiers that shall unlock a vast quantum of value for the businesses and consumers together. New features on the go, over-the-air updates, significant agility, user-friendly approach with optimized cost are some of the benefits which SDV is expected to provide. As per the estimates by market research, SDVs will evolve over the next decade and are likely to create over 650 billion USD worth of revenue pool for the industry by 2030. However, the challenges related to cybersecurity, data privacy, and compliances to the regulations will need to be addressed for a seamless integration. Progressively, India has been spearheading the advanced and lightweight material technologies, combustion technologies that are higher on efficiency and lower on emissions, holistic form of e-mobility, be it in hybrids, battery electric vehicles, or hydrogen fuel cell technologies, low carbon and alternate fuels, safety and management of end-of-line vehicles, ensuring robust reduce, reuse, and recycling as a part of a larger sustainability goals. Today, India is among the brightest spot on the world map thanks to its vibrant economy, GDP growth, and strong policy support from Indian government. India has attained the world's fifth largest economy in March 2022 and is aspiring to gain the number 3 spot by 2030. Rapid urbanization with millions of people getting added to urban population is a reality and in a way one of the growth engines. Therefore, we in India are passing through the most exciting times when innovations are being reported every day and the future holds a lot of excitement. India has an aspiration of becoming a developed nation by 2047. The next 25 years are going to be called as an Amrut Kal in the language of what our Honorable Prime Minister says. Decarbonization, circularity, softwarization of vehicles, digitalization, and innovative business models will be the focus areas for us and will provide a big trigger as far as adaptation of a technology is concerned. The commemoration of National Technology Day is not merely a historical event, but something that enlightens our pathway to the future. On this occasion, I would also like to highlight the visions of the government that Startup India and Stand Up India programs will further strengthen India's decade of technology. On this National Technology Day, I urge all fellow colleagues of the fraternity and citizens to take a pledge and make innovation a way of life. Our country today has developed a vibrant technology ecosystem, and India is now a much sought after partner for innovative technologies at the international arena. India's decade of technology has provided much needed boost to the entrepreneurs and a vision to mainstream technological innovations in all spheres of life for benefit to the people and Indian economy. Thank you so much and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Petkar, for walking us through the pivotal role that technology is playing in the advancement of the Indian automotive industry and highlighting the importance of sustainability consciousness with innovation. The keynote address has definitely set the tone for the day. Now, moving on, as we all are seeing how the automotive industry is in the transformative era, and as the case megatrend is growing, the software content in automobiles is definitely going to be on the rise. So much so that a conventional vehicle is swiftly changing its character to become a software-defined vehicle. To bring in some data, as per a McKinsey report, the global automotive software and electronics market is expected to touch $468 billion by 2030 at a CAGR of 5.6% from 2019. But what are the new technology and regulatory trends, the pitfalls that may impact the supplier industry on this journey? How is the automobile and its business dynamics as we know today going to change tomorrow? And for that, what are the key strategies and approaches to take for growth in this disruptive age? To answer this and more, we have an interesting panel discussion lined up ahead. For this, I would like to request my colleague Sumantra Vibhuti Barua to join in, introduce our guest, and please take this discussion forward.
Hello and welcome to ET Auto and to this very special National Technology Day special webinar on preparing for the SDV era. SDV, as we all know, stands for software-defined vehicles. Softwarisation is a major technology trend that is that's progressing in the automotive industry. On the other side is, of course, decarbonization. Because, but in this webinar, we are going to focus on this whole global trend of softwarization of automobiles, which will virtually redefine the automobile that we have known so far. So to tell us more about this trend and how it is also, how India is also contributing to this, to the development of the software technologies, advanced software technologies, we are joined with a very esteemed panelists representing tier ones with global presence. And of course, we have an industry veteran in Dr. S.J. Dinagar, who is also the head senior VP engineering at Ola Electric. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sparing your time to be with us on this very special National Technology Day webinar. So first of all, quick round of introduction. As I mentioned, Dr. S.J. Dinagar represents Ola Electric. Jacob Peter, Senior VP and board member at BGSW, which is Bosch Global Software, and he's also a board member of Bosch Digital. We have Lata Chembrakalam, who is the head of the India Technical Center of Global Tier 1 Major Continental, and is also the Senior VP. And we have with us Manaswani Rath, Dr. Manaswani Rath, who is the Global Head of Software SDV, Autonomous Driving, and Chassis Engineering at KPIT Technologies. So once again, welcoming all of you to this very special webinar on ET Auto. To start off with, Dr. Dinagar, you have seen the transition of the automobile over many decades. And to those who may not be aware, Dr. Dinagar started his career in the four-wheeler industry with Tata Motors many decades ago, after which he had a few decades at TVS Motor, and now he is with Ola Electric. So he has seen a kind of a huge transition of the automobile industry across sectors. So right now, Dr. Dinagar, where we stand, what is the quantum of change that you expect that is going to happen? Because things are going to change pretty much faster than what you have yourself witnessed over the decades, right?
Yes. So the era of software started when electronics started getting into vehicles as a way to reduce pollutions, the days of Indica and pre-Indica days. If you look at the software content, it is basically to contain somehow pollutions, contain the fuel quantity, contain the ignition timing and parameters is the way we started. If you list the amount of code those vehicles had, those era in early 90s and late 80s vehicle, it is thousands of lines, maybe 2,000, 3,000 lines of code, most of them in assembler. And that's how we started looking at automotive and software. We have mission-directed software. Everything else is hardware. The user-directed part is hardware. And the world has no connectivity. The vehicle is never connected to anything other than the vehicle itself. Now looking at today's era and looking back, we have come a long way. The vehicle runs millions of code. I was recently reading an article, latest vehicle, SDV coming from leading manufacturers, 120 million lines of code. From 1,000 lines to 120 million lines of code, we have come a long way. The vehicle encircles the software around the user. His experience is entirely created by software. And the entire machine, whether it is an electric like in Ola, or the engines and transmissions and other parts of the vehicle, entirely enveloped by software. And the vehicle is never alone. It's connected to the global network of vehicles, infrastructure, and communication. We have come a long way. I've traveled along with this journey from few lines of code and pre-lines of code in a contact breaker era to where we are today. It's an interesting journey to travel through time. And we are in a world fully connected and engaged with this vehicle fully as close as possible a relationship, what you can create out of a motorized vehicle.
Let me bring in Lata here. Lata, with this change that is taking shape, also is changing the EE architecture, electronic and electrical architecture. So could you just draw a picture for us what quantum of change is taking place and how much more it is going to change, and how will it influence the character of the vehicle?
Yeah, the SDV has a kind of a forward-thinking approach, focusing on scalability and adaptability. And the architecture has to allow them to integrate systems in less time. That's the whole thing. So which means that interoperability, governance, and the seamless integration becomes the key aspects. So, the evolution of this architecture has been in 3 stages, I would call it, right? So the first one is what we call it as a traditional distributed architecture, like every single function or functional area was integrated into a network with a dedicated ECU. But when the complexity increases, this has led to a very heterogeneous and a complex architecture of embedded systems, which is no longer suitable, right? So the SDV requires a change in the EE architecture and the software architecture because it is based on the fact that we need to decouple the hardware and the software. And that is something which is giving a benefit of enabling swift and continuous development and integration of new functions and software throughout the vehicle lifetime. So the second stage was cross-domain centralized architecture. And the last one where we are at this point of time is what we call it as a central computer-based zone architecture. So Continental is successfully driving towards implementing the server zone architecture in vehicles. So which means that you have the high-performance computers, the HPCs, and the zone control unit. These are the 2 key components of the software-defined vehicle. And the ZZU, they reduce the vehicle network complexity as well as the cost because it kinds of support centralized architectures and increase the separation of hardware and software. So that's number 1, right? So the new zone control units, actually, they consolidate the vehicle functions in physical zones of the vehicle, which means that it is in a zone which is close to the sensors and actuators. And this kind of forms the middle layer between the server level of HPCs and the individual sensors and actuators, which are actually on site or, proximity to the physical unit, right? So the whole architecture has to ensure that we need to have a kind of intelligent task distribution across all levels. And each of these zone control unit bundles all the functions in a local area. And that's what is the beauty. For example, if you look at it, the zone control units are also connected to the different HPCs in the vehicle, right? And if you look at Continental architecture, we are having maybe 4 major HPCs which are there. So one is basically the cockpit HPC, which interacts with the driver. The second one, we have the body HPC that regulates the data stream in the vehicle and serves as an intelligent interface to the internet. It takes care of cybersecurity, communication, and so on. And when we talk about automated driving, you have, an ADAS version of the HPC coming in. And last but not the least, we have a safety HPC. So this is a kind of architecture which is there. And all these platforms have to be scalable and modular. And it has to give the comfort to the OEM that they should have maximum flexibility in designing and also full integration of their own hardware, software, and third-party function. So this is a complete shift from a single ECU, single function into a very complex situation with the ZCUs and the HPCs now. So that's where we are at this point of time.
Great. And we will talk about the future as the discussion progresses. Let me bring in Jacob here. Jacob, we are commemorating India's National Technology Day with this webinar, and Bosch, specifically BGSW, stands as a good example of India's competence in software engineering for automotive. There is, you have grown exponentially in terms of the size of the manpower, and you have kind of expanded to other cities also. But in terms of the capabilities, in terms of the nature of work, the responsibilities, could you just draw a picture for us as how has it changed? Is it only the numbers, or is it also the nature of projects and the responsibilities that you have?
Hey, thanks, Sumantra. Thanks for those compliments. I mean, a lot of the history has been talked. I think Dinagar talked about how from a few lines of code, now we have come to millions of lines of code. And of course, the architecture itself, Lata dwelled quite a bit on it. So what is the play India has? So we are a very strong software powerhouse. India is a very strong software powerhouse, and BGSW in that ecosystem has been around for the last 25 years, and we have some pedigree in terms of solving complex problems. As the world of automobile evolved, what it moved is from a classic mechanical oriented device, it moved to a mechatronics oriented product, and now it is more and more getting driven by software. And that means India's play naturally increases because we have a formidable talent pool of software engineering. Now, here we are not talking about just classic software engineering. We are talking about a set of people, specialists who can integrate the domain and the software engineering principles. So when we talk about ADAS, because what are we doing here? We are doing work on the front on topics like ADAS, where it is no longer the classic V model. It's more the data loop and the programming loop which has to work in tandem. So we are working on how do you hypothesize models in how they if you look at a video perception journey, we have to get in hundreds of thousands of kilometers of data, feed into an algorithm, and then validate that algorithm. So it also requires annotation capability and extreme tooling capability which runs along with it. What we often miss out in all of this is the tooling ecosystem that's required. Because if you need to really work on such extensive different models of development, you need to have a tooling framework which enables that. So one of the problems most of the people in this ADAS, even in L2, L3 ADAS faces the amount of data that you're going to use and where the data is going to come from and how do you deal with this data. Very simple example, if it's a traffic sign detection, you can have this traffic sign detection different in different regions and in different kind of situations like snow, like dust. And your system should be capable of detecting it properly and giving the proper inputs into it. So we work a lot on those kind of video perception systems, the full system itself, where we work on the entire data loop and the programming loop. We also work on the SDV, which is again, when we call an SDV, there are multiple parts to it. One is, as Lata told, the compute architecture, the zonal architecture. We are also talking about how the software itself is abstracted. You have a software which is close to the hardware. SOCs are coming in big time. The chip manufacturers are coming in big time, where there are integrated functionalities coming in. And then you have an interplay between the onboard and offboard and connectivity at the core of all of this. So we work on all of this. In fact, our connectivity module is used extensively by a lot of OEs in India, and that's 100% product which was done out of BGSW. So in short, we work on the entire gamut of what we know as SDV, from a connectivity stack to the middleware to application-oriented areas like ADAS.
Now let me come to Manaswini. Manaswini represents KPIT Technologies, which qualify as a very good example of a homegrown technology company, which is really making its presence felt in the global industry. In fact, it's some years ago, to those who may not be aware, it realigned its overall business strategy, moved away from hardware, and also decided to focus software, but only automotive software. It was one would call it a calculated risk, but that calculated risk seems to be paying off now, because as we speak, Manaswini joins us from USA, where she is there on a business visit. I'm pretty sure she can't divulge all the details about the projects that she's working on. But Manaswini, can you tell us what is the nature of, what's the timeline, let's say, of the full-fledged SDVs, the proper SDVs that will kind of see SOP start of production, and how is KPIT Technologies involved, and how many such projects, let's say, KPIT is involved?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So yes, as you just touched upon, we reinvented ourselves just to focus on automotive. The whole idea was we could anticipate and foresee the challenges coming as it is getting more software driven, more modular, scalable and all, and how we as the key technology player bring those kind of thought leadership proactively and help when this actually is happening. That was the whole thought process, and I think that worked out with the vision. So out of the 7 or 8, I would say, the SDV program, we are there in almost 7 of them in globally. As you touched upon the timeline, it's really the only program in my long working year career I have seen where it's spread for long years. So we are engaged in one of the SDV program, which will be launched this year, later this year, September, October. That is the first SOP we are together delivering. But that was just, I would say, the first SDV to feel the transformation. So it is not accommodating the complexity of ADAS and all. So, but everything else, the HPC, the zonal architecture, the common middleware, scalability, upgradability and all. And that vehicle even will provide software updates every month. From there, the next closest SOP and the most transformational SDV that we are seeing will be in mid-26. They will be the first and they will be the greatest. That architecture is even close to or better than Tesla's architecture, or a lot of Chinese OEMs architecture that they are bringing those challenges to the world. It is one HPC, three zones, but accommodating all the functions. So that is a kind of a goal that all the OEMs deriving. So I would say that's the most advanced architecture we have seen. And going back and back, every OEM going through their own journey of transformation. So everybody touched upon how the technology trend has been, to reach the SDV, which is the vehicle is no more a metal box, but millions of lines of code. But in that, what we see are OEMs are transitioning depending on where they stand from legacy, conventional way to complete transformation. And it's not easy. As you see, this transformation starts from organizational change, the way you do things, the ecosystem that you build. And it is no more we do something and deliver, but it's a complete ecosystem player starting from what we call chip to cloud. Everybody have a role, and that calls for a lot of transformation. So OEMs are going in their own incremental way. So we have been in the programs where SOPs are also targeted for 2030 in an incremental way, where they say soft SDV, medium SDV, full-fledged SDV and all that. So it's basically a lot of change in the whole way that that the software and hardware done today. So that is how the timeline looks like. It is spread across, and Many OEMs are going incremental. However, some OEMs are directly transforming into the new change.
The transformative SDV program that you mentioned, touched upon, to the layperson, let's say, how different the vehicle would be, how different the vehicle would be in terms of its characteristics.
Sure. So the vehicle which would take the crown of SDV would give you completely a user-driven experience. So anything and everything that you'd like to be in the car while you are inside the vehicle will be given to you. For example, you would have choice of selecting the features that you would like to drive at that point of time. And Jacob talked about the ADAS and see, many features are today, even in India, most of the global OEMs are launching. But how much as a user, you are aware that what are the benefits of those features, how do you use it and when to use it. And many times what survey says that users are not even using those features. But if you see the total cost of the vehicle is including those features when you buy, which is kind of factory loaded, what we call. From there, the SDV would be like, you choose what you need at that point of time. Suppose you are doing a long drive and you want to just use ACC for the Indian highways, it works fantastic, or lane keep. You just pay for those amount of drive that you do and then download that before your journey and just use. That is how the SDV is driven. But I see the greatest benefit is beyond those vehicles who are crowned to be the SDV vehicle, because this will also give the flexibility to the OEMs to upgrade the existing vehicles. I think that's something as a user I am dreaming for the time to come. Otherwise, we can't change the car every 2 years or 3 years, but then the neighbors driving a more cool feature hurts us, right? Why I don't have, and I don't have to invest all buying new car, but can I download new software and equal to the experience that somebody else has? So those are the user specific thing that SDV is bringing.
And that they will, in fact, as I understand, with this softwarization trend, will, as someone put it recently, in fact, the car need not be in its best version when it leaves the showroom. In fact, it can have a better version even after some time of use. Lata, one is that, and secondly, do you think this SDV trend will also contribute towards sustainability? Because as Mansmani put it, if I have a vehicle with a fixed kind of features and I want X, Y features, and I'm attracted to get another variant which offers that, and tomorrow, if an SDV gives me that choice to upgrade in the existing vehicle, that will also contribute to sustainability, right?
That's right. I think it's much beyond that as well. See, for example, SDVs can communicate with each other and with the traffic infrastructure and so on, right? So that will enable a much more efficient traffic flow, which can reduce congestion. So, and we can also minimize the idling and the unnecessary stops. So that also helps to reduce the emissions associated with the urban traffic congestion. And I will be pretty happy to have something like that living in Bangalore. Yeah. The second thing is that SDVs enable the over-the-air updates, and that will reduce the need of physical recalls. And also, it will reduce the waste that is associated with any hardware replacement that we do at this point of time, indirectly contributing to the sustainability. So another way of looking at it is also that when we have more SDVs on the road, the rise of car sharing services as well as the autonomous ride hailing may be there, and people may be less dependent on having their individual or maybe owning their personal vehicle. So that could result in a reduced number of vehicles on the road, freeing up the space, and also indirectly, helping sustainability in a much better way.
And better optimization of the existing fleet, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it can also be kind of, if you have an SDV, it can, at a later time, it can be also integrated with other modes of transportation, such as the public transit and ride-sharing services, which helps in a larger ecosystem as well. So, but what we need to keep in mind is that if it all needs to work and if sustainability is important, even though it has the potential to replace the urban transportation system, we need to influence the urban planning decisions also. So otherwise,
that's what I was thinking. No, urban planners of tomorrow. In fact, why tomorrow? Urban planners of today.
Yeah.
Need to kind of provision for starting today itself, right?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I think with all these things, we can actually make our cities much more livable and much more sustainable for sure. But it's not only the SDV alone, but the ecosystem around it also has to help a lot. Yeah.
Dr. Dinagar, Ola Electric has ambitious plans of on the largest, if not the largest, electric two-wheeler maker. And why only electric two-wheelers? It's got ambitions to get into electric four-wheelers also, and autonomous cars also. So as someone, I mean, it's in a very exciting phase of the entire industry, and specifically a player like Ola. So while you are developing these new architectures, what are the three key factors which are you're absolutely very, very focused and sensitive about? Because some of these, let's say, if inadvertently there's an error, some of these could maybe irreversible errors. So what are you doing, and what is it that you would like to share with the fraternity to in terms of things to take care of while developing as SDV architecture, for example?
Yeah, I think it's contrary to what you mentioned. So let me continue from where Lata talked about sustainability. So this vehicle gives you a longer thing. We recently offered an 8 years warranty on the battery pack. And so this comes from this vehicle being what it is. It's an SDV. So you know the data streams as you watch them, age and mature as a product. So you can easily predict things. Every engineer's dilemma in an automotive world is how do you get reliability? The development cycle gives you a certain time frame to run accelerated tests to predict reliability, versus this pool of vehicles constantly tethered to the servers, giving pool of data, and your reliability model matures with the time and enough data. So as we have more than 600,000 vehicles. When you look at the data streams coming from each of these subsystems, gives you a model to predict things much more fairly accurately. It also gives an opportunity to do things which are featureization. Both Lata talked about it, Manswani talked about it. The vehicle is a continuous living being. So why it is sustainable? Because the feature sets evolve as engineers look at it and you listen to customers who are using your product. We have 5 generations of OS, which is launched MoveOS, starting with 1. And the same vehicle, same hardware platform, which is an architecture. And over the year, all the vehicles get updated. Every time we do 30 odd features. So the feature set keeps evolving as the user tells us they like the feature to be like this, and they want the feature to change. And we drive the vehicle to know that which is better. And we also know which features are used, which is not used by the users. So the backend is transparent about the vehicle. The engineers see how the user experience is generated. So the vehicle evolves. So as a mistake you talked about, this is one thing which is very critical. Earlier, if you make a dimensional error, set of parts went wrong, very difficult to correct it unless you do a recall, whether there is a hose clip which is leaking a hot.
It allows some margin of error. I mean, of course.
Yes. Now in the software-defined vehicle, this is a lot more tolerant. You can do parameter-wise OTA. You can change the range in which a vehicle operates. If the vehicle has a certain features which is making the vehicle go out of bounds, in a case you can bring it within the bounds. So the operating zone of the user is a software-defined zone. The throttle is a drive-by-wire. So the user is nudged to work in a particular way which is safer, better, and gets corrected in the next update. So that way, this is more tolerant to errors once you have the basic hardware architecture in place and a software architecture which can create that experiences which are good. Even in a vehicle which is weaker, older, where parts are becoming weaker, you can still create an user experience which is as good as a brand new vehicle.
Jacob, since we are talking about the India's National Technology Day, and the Indian consumers' appetite for technology, as has been proven with the smartphone industry, is very high. So, do you expect India to be among the leading markets for for SDVs, and India as an engineering base? Could it have an edge over some of the other matured automotive bases?
Yeah, in Indian consumers are very discerning and real value for money consumer, right? All of us know that. So if you look at this problem from two sides, one is our ability to engineer products in the SDV era. We will definitely be in the top of the market because of our talent and our ability to do software, which is very different from a classical embedded software. Because most of the software industry in India was not around embedded software. It was around the classic software engineering, IT engineering. And now there is a fusion that's coming in where the cloud-based architectures, the classic enterprise architectures is coming closer into the vehicle. So app-based, mobile-based architectures is coming closer into vehicle. So we will definitely have a lot of pull in that. As a market for a product as an SDV, at the end of the day, a consumer may not care, right? They may not care whether it's SDV or not. What they will look at is what is the value that it gives me. And to really tweak it to the Indian ecosystem is going to be the big challenge a lot of OEs would face. Because something that possibly may find value in a global ecosystem may not be the thing that they would. If you look at how we pay in India, credit cards are not the most common way we pay. We pay UPI. This is not even seen in many parts of the world. So the ability to understand the consumer and adapt the features and the business models around it. So, for example, I mean, I quote it in many places. If we are running an e-call, the emergency call, it's not about the connectivity or how well you have integrated technology into your vehicle. It's about running an end-to-end system that when an event happens somewhere in the remotest part of India, you are able to get help to that person. You have a call center behind it, which can take care of most of the languages of India 24/7. So how do you tie up all of this? The value chain, how do you tie it up is going to be a dominant aspect. So the value chain can be around charging, the value chain can be around fuel, the value chain can be around entertainment. So SDV gives you a platform. SDV doesn't give you the solution itself. The solution is something that has to be brought in by people who are very close to consumer and understand the market. And this is going to be a trial and error. It's not going to be an easy thing. Even though we say SDV could potentially shift the automobile, it is from an architectural standpoint. An architecture to a consumer value is a jump that will allow at least 2 or 3 cycles of trial and error. And at the end, in my view, around 3 to 5 years, you will find a lot of use cases that people are willing to pay for. And that's the time frame we should be ready for, because it's also consumer education and also making consumer understanding the value beneath what they're getting.
Lata, I believe your team at Bangalore is or has already developed the next gen radar for Continental globally, and as we all know, in ADAS or autonomous driving, radar technology is very, very critical. And also, as we speak, or some time ago, I think you have also developed autonomous parking solutions. So
That's right.
India's engineering talent is very well kind of exhibited by your technical center too. But in terms of this whole in the SDV era, that will also give organizations like yours will also give an edge. You're quite confident of that?
Yeah, just there because all these sensors become a very important component. And especially if you look at the radar sensors, right from 1990s, we have been using in ACC. But over a period of time, it has become an integral part of the ADAS itself. And it provides, a lot of range of safety as well as convenient features. So what we have done is in Continental in India, we have around 2,000 people who work on the autonomous driving system, and out of which around 350 plus people are highly focused on working on developing radars. And the generation 6 radar predominantly comes from India, which is talking about increased range, improved object recognition, integration with other sensors, and the 360-degree coverage, right? So the 6th generation radar, we are focusing and we are participating in all generation of radar, but this 6th generation is the latest offering. And it's a key enabler in the SAE level 2, 3, and 4 driving. And it's a kind of a game changer, I would call, in terms of sensor modularity, much more robustness. And even to look at an India market, I think this would be something which we are, very clear that this can be a product that we can position in terms of performance, in terms of pricing, in terms of compactness, right? So when these sensors are becoming the ears and eyes of the vehicle, and that makes an SDV successful, I think we are pretty much confident that the radars also, which is a very important part, can actually boom our India as well as the global business going forward.
One thing I missed out, Jacob, while we are talking about your center, BGSW is also a unique example in a sense that among the global tier ones who have a significant engineering development-based presence in India, BGSW stands because it's also the global headquarter in Bangalore, in India. So do you have a particular mandate of driving this business for the Bosch Group globally? What are the 2-3 key areas that you are you have been notified, or you have been you are the COE for, and therefore you are driving it globally?
So you're right. This is the biggest development center for Bosch anywhere outside Germany, and in many of these areas, almost 80% of the work is done out of BGSW. And another architectural difference from any other centers is we are not an India-based alone entity. Bangalore is the headquarters. We have 4 centers in India. We have 2 centers in Vietnam. We have a center in Mexico, Poland, and we are thinking about centers in US. So basically, it's a global software house of Bosch, which is headquartered out of India. That's how it's architected. From topics, I talked to you about data engineering. There's a lot of work that's happening on data engineering and ADAS from India. The new topic that we are very strongly driving from India is AI. Especially Gen AI-based disruptions that are happening in the market. It's extremely new, and that's led out of our Bangalore center. We also have the large amount of connectivity-related work as a competence unit. The connectivity, the HMI, this entire gamut that is done out of here, and the tooling for the complete SDV is done out of India. In fact, the leader for the entire ecosystem for tooling is from India, and this is a key part of SDV. What we don't realize is most often SDV is not going to be a one-person activity. When I mean it's not going to be a one company activity, it is going to be a collaboration between multiple. In one of the projects that we did, we had around 40 software players collaborating to make it happen. And so all of this has to be integrated around a complete common CI/CD framework, as we call it. And that's also led out of India.
Lastly, Manaswini, I mean, in contrast to a Bosch or a Conti or a ZF, KPIT is, as I mentioned earlier, is homegrown. It has its global headquarters in Pune, and it has branched out. It has a significant engineering development presence through centers in Europe also. You are in a way seen as a flag bearer of for India among India-based organizations. So, what are the key focus areas that KPIT has to kind of to ensure that this kind of attraction, this kind of a presence continues, or penetration into the industry continues for your organization in the new age industry?
I would touch upon a little bit on the key challenges of SDV and how we are bringing that, early and differentiated solutions for our partners. So among many challenges, the key challenge is also integration, software and system integration, because it has to be done multi-layered, as there is like HPC, zones, outside zones, the legacy ECUs, and outside of the vehicle. So integration becomes very, very complex. And that's where we bring a lot of not only the process of doing integration or flow chain and all that, but a lot of assets which could bring high level of automation and contribute towards reducing the SOP timeline. That's one of the key area has been our strength. The second area, which is very new but mostly needed for SDV, is the challenge of validation. And all of us in the panel, we know that as this new technology evolve and new things come, validation become very, very key. And there is a big challenge that the way the industry works or SOP timeline happens, validation happens very late in the cycle. And in the complexity of SDV, where the amount of lines of code or multiple issue communication outside, inside of the vehicle, it is extremely crucial that the validation has to be done at every stage and much early. So we as KPIT, we are bringing a complete SDV validation solution, and we call it left shift. So we provide left shift. So if you see the SOP as a linear timeline, the validation happens much later. Integration and both validation happens much later. It starts with the V cycle, if you say requirement, development and all. But that will not help in the complex architecture of SDV. So what we are bringing as a complete solution is taking the validation to much early in the SOP program, even starting from pre-development, development, and before integration. That will really make the whole success of this complex architecture, but also help speed up the SOP for most of the OEMs. And as you know, everybody's looking at India and China, and speed is very, very critical. So, and these are the things which delays our SOP program. So we are bringing this left shift solution where we will bring the library, the catalogs of the whole validation suite, will bring the infrastructure, will bring the expertise, so that the ecosystem players can utilize it and we can start very early in the whole system. Then the third critical thing, which is most important, is the domain transformation. So all the domains like ADAS, like body, chassis, they are going through, or infotainment, they are going through huge changes to move from signal-based to service-based, move from a complete hardware-software coupled to complete decoupled and component-driven. So we are leading those domain transformations where our depth in the domain, we are bringing new architecture, new component-driven solutions where OEMs can adopt it and, make that transformational journey from where their legacy system starts today. So these are three key players. Other than that, cloud, AI and all are around the whole solutions.
The keyword there is transformation, and we are in the midst of a very transformative phase in the automotive industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again very much for participating in this National Technology Day special webinar by ET Auto. And as this webinar commemorates National Technology Day, and therefore the technologists and engineers like you, so wishing you and your teams all the very best on behalf of ET Auto. Thank you once again for participating in this webinar, and to all the audience who have logged in. Thank you once again, and best wishes to all of you. And till we meet again, goodbye and take care.
Thank you, Mr. Barua, for bringing in all the stakeholders of the industry at one platform and giving us a comprehensive viewpoint on the software-defined vehicles. I am sure the discussion has given us an opportunity to look ahead and embrace the possibilities that India has for the automotive industry to shine on the global stage. The realization of innovation in some areas may take time, but I'm sure we all can say that it will definitely prosper. So as we wrap up the day, I want to thank each one of you for being patient listeners. Do let us know how you feel about today's discussion. Your feedback is always important. Best wishes for the day ahead and keep innovating. Thank you.